Netosportsglobal. Netosportsglobal. Hashtag NSG. Remember to like and subscribe.
Greetings and a warm welcome to Netosportsglobal. They say a new sunrise is an opportunity to shine, and that's just what we are doing. And we will be talking about aquatics. To help us to do so is the Swimming South Africa president, Mr. Fritz, together with a WaterPolo player that is Boati Motau. Boati, a very good day and a warm welcome to Netosportsglobal.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really excited to speak about all things aquatics, especially water polo.
How are you doing?
I'm good. It's been like a busy week up and down, getting back into the swing of things of practicing again and getting fit again for the next season.
Exciting indeed. Mr. Fritz, a very warm welcome and thank you so much for joining us on Netosportsglobal.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be in your show.
That's how it goes. So we've got our guests on board. My name is Neto, Neto Chemani, Hosiati, Konyangazi, Mumka, Drapandle Gunjani, Moyani, Voku Tendele. This is Netosportsglobal Episode 5, proudly powered by the Academy of Sound Engineering, #ASE. Let's get on to it. Starting with Boati Motau, who is a water polo player. You look at her, you must look at her twice because she's been traveling the world in the name of water polo, representing South Africa very well. She's been to Czech Republic, she's been to Germany, she's been to Tokyo Olympics and many other countries that she's still going to tell us about. Boati, let's talk about water polo and Boati. How did the two meet?
I first started with swimming. I've been swimming since a very, very young age. My parents put me into swimming since I was a baby. And then I was on my school swimming team and I actually found it quite boring. So I ventured off into water polo. But funny enough, I actually hated water polo when I first started playing. But with a lot of encouragement from my parents, especially, and my coaches, I kept playing. And then I made my first provincial side and it was like the rest was history from there. So once I think it clicked for me in water polo, I really grew to love the sport from there.
It's interesting that you first hated water polo, but here you are fully in love with the sport and it's taken you to places.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I like looking at myself, a little 10-year-old self when I first started water polo. I don't think she ever would have thought that 10 years later she would be playing international water polo, going to the Olympics at 19 years old. So it really is for her to think that, like, shoot for the stars and you never know what you could do with the sport that you play.
Let's also bring back to the conversation Swimming South Africa President, Mr. Fritz. Dressed to kill, Sangene London.
I was coming from another shoot, so I couldn't go home and come back.
No, thank you so much. You're looking good, I must say. Mr. Fritz, let's talk about swimming in South Africa. What's the current state?
Yeah, we've just had a press conference where we outlined the high-performance strategy for the next up to LA and beyond, of course, Brisbane in Australia. In fact, aquatic sport is in very, very healthy state. If you look at, let's maybe start with swimming. Swimming, we most probably where we sit now, we could have up to 25 qualifiers. Okay, we've never had that really. 2008, we had about more or less 24 qualifiers. And if you look at not just qualifiers, but our potential for medal is about, give or take, about four medals. We will work hard and make sure that we do deliver some medals, but the potential is four. If you look at just coming back from the World Championships in Singapore, 3 medals by one athlete, Peter could say, is a phenomenal achievement. And of course, Kaylin Colbert has delivered the 200-meter breaststroke. Fantastic achievement for us. Projecting where we are towards LA. A good indication. If you look at the junior team that's just coming from Europe, 1 gold medal out of World Juniors, fantastic. And if you look at all the senior athletes that were in Singapore, from a swimming perspective, and the junior athletes, they all have improved. So it really, really augurs well for where we are currently in world swimming. In water polo, we had a very young team out in at the World Championships. Exactly what we wanted to see, where the potential is, because the athletes that are in the squad now should reach and qualify for LA. But beyond LA, they should really start seeing a progression towards improved status in water polo. The mandate to the director of coaching, Steve Lamarck, and the water polo fraternity is to got to keep all those athletes in the water polo squads intact, make sure they have the right level of competition, the right scientific support. We are in discussions with the Free State scientific community to give them the best support. But our biggest jump is in diving. If you look at Paris 2024, what's her name? Just forgot her name for a moment, but she should have had a medal. Up until a certain stage of the dive, she was number 3, number 2. And of course, the pressure can get to an athlete. And she ended 9th. Not bad. 9th in the world is not a bad. And if you look at the 2 divers that we had that performed exceptionally well at World Championships in Singapore, Zalika and a partner in the dual dive, fantastic position to be. We are really, really chuffed where diving is in the country. If you look at junior diving at school level, a good bedrock for us to follow up on. But the biggest winner is open water swimming. 24th and 27th in the world. If we build on that, we should be really well positioned for LA. Where we want to take open water is most probably a huge investment, and that's why at our conference, media conference, announcing that Bombela Concession Company, the company responsible for Gautrain, has sponsored us to a tune of 10 million. That money is going into our sport to make sure that we do give the country returns. If you just look at where we are in terms of athletics in Tokyo, our athletes are not performing at their best, but it doesn't mean those athletes can't perform at Olympic level. And that's where we are. We want to make sure that when there's potential to achieve podium performances, we make sure that the investment in the athletes are there.
Exciting indeed. Boati, you've traveled the world through water polo. When talking water polo, for a young person listening to this conversation or watching, what are we talking about when talking water polo?
I think when we talk about water polo, I think the first word that comes to mind is like exciting, fun. And I think when I coach now, like the little under 13s and under 14s, I tell the girls a lot that the importance is having a lot of fun while you're playing water polo, because it is a very physical sport and it is very physically demanding. But as long as the kids are having fun and it's exciting for them to keep playing, that's the most important thing for me. And when they're having fun is when they improve the most. So that's what I want little girls and little boys to think about when they think about water polo.
And how's the sport played?
So traditionally, the water polo is played 4 quarters of 8 minutes. And there's a shot clock. It's a 30-second shot clock, but I think recently internationally it's changed to 28 seconds. And then obviously whichever team scores the most goals wins. You have 6 outfield players and 1 goalkeeper, and everyone can play anywhere, and you swim up the pool sort of thing. Whenever I explain water polo, I sort of explain tactically. It's sort of like basketball. So if you've ever watched a basketball game, tactically, structurally, it's kind of this similar, but then physically, it's like rugby because it's such a physical game. And when you bring those two together, and now it's also in the water, it's like very demanding, but it's very fun. The pool usually is about like 2 meters deep, so you can't touch the water at all when you play water polo. So you have to have really, really strong legs and be able to tread water for a very long time.
And in terms of preparations for a tournament, how long does it take?
Usually, so like pre-season wise, I could say you have a tournament near the end of the year. You'd start training like at least like 3 months before. So you have like pre-season, and during pre-season is when you do a lot of conditioning. So it's a lot of swimming, a lot of leg work, a lot of endurance stuff. And then near the end of the season, you tone down the conditioning. It's a bit more tapering, and then you focus more on like the tactical stuff and a few gameplays and stuff as you lead up to tournament time.
Wow, exciting. Mr. Fritz, congratulations on the sleepless nights that you are having, making certain that you get sponsors for aquatics in the country to make it to an elite level. When I saw that the press release, it warmed my heart, and I was thinking perhaps we are getting closer and closer to a moment where swimming in South Africa can be compulsory in schools. How far are we with that approach? Because in my life, I've experienced 2 scenarios where I was part of the group and kids drowned. One happened in Fun Valley, in that Fun Valley area, and another one happened when I was in Palestine a few years ago, and a kid drowned. And I started thinking, if swimming was compulsory in schools, this could be avoided.
Yeah, no doubt you hit the nail right there. It has to be included in the curriculum of the country education system. It is our drive that and engagements with both DSEC, Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, and with education to bring it into the curriculum. Besides that, we have one of the highest levels of drowning in the world. If you take climate change, and you look at KwaZulu-Natal and most probably the Eastern Cape, recently the Eastern Cape flooding where over 100 people lost their lives. Now, if the people were water safe, particularly the children, they could possibly save another person's life.
Indeed.
Particularly elderly person. And to have that kind of drowning stats it's really, really heartbreaking. So our endeavors is that we will continue with our Learn to Swim mass participation programs. In fact, it's starting September month. You will see province in KwaZulu-Natal a very, very big focus. Mafata and the team is most probably going to start this week in ensuring that we run our Learn to Swim programs. Our coastal programs all have water safety programs. We have a very big one at Sun City annually, but we need capital injection in that, and that's where government should play, because it is a social aspect more than a sport aspect.
Indeed.
It's saving people's lives at the end of the day when they're water safe. We have kids in our rural areas that are going to school, they have to cross rivers. Our country is naturally a hot country. There's dams, and young people and children are naturally drawn to water when it's so hot, and that's where the drownings occur, because they don't have the ability to swim and to save their lives. And that's important for us to work together with other water-based federations like rowing, surfing, triathlon, and so on, so that we have a coherent strategy in the country, that those water sport federations support government's initiatives, particularly social development, education, and also health. Health has a very big role to play. We had a very good program with SARS. We've just finished in Cape Town with the program, and more and more government departments are coming aware that they have to introduce swimming, even if it's on a sort of a pilot phase in certain government departments. It does contribute to reducing drownings.
Incredible indeed. We are talking to Swim in South Africa President Alan Fritz, together with a water polo player that is Boati Motau, a well-traveled lady representing her country, South Africa. Thank you for choosing Netosportsglobal. Remember to do the right thing, like and subscribe. Boati, you've been to various parts of the world. What is this one country you've been to and you've learned something that you thought, this, if at all possible, I'm taking home with?
I think definitely Japan. When I went to the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, I was very, very young, bright-eyed. I didn't think I'd make the Olympic team at such a young age, but I think being on such a big global stage for the first time, it was my first time playing for the senior national team as well. So being exposed to such high-level athletes and seeing how they play, it was my biggest takeaway, and just soaking it all in and taking notes of when they're playing and watching them. And learning from them the most. I think that was the biggest thing for me, is learning how they play, learning how they prepare, how they recover, and asking questions to those athletes. That was a lot of my biggest takeaways, was just learning from those really, really high-level athletes, whether it was a water polo player or just like another athlete at the village.
As a player, how good can you still be?
There's always room for improvement. Even if you're at the top of your game, you can always get better. So even watching like the best water polo players in the world, you could see they're always constantly working to get better, because there are other people that are chasing behind you. So if you want to be the best, you have to work like you're the best. So that's my motto nowadays, is that there's always room for improvement.
Still playing hockey, or you've divorced it for water polo?
Unfortunately, I have stopped playing hockey. I stopped after high school, but sometimes I do pick up the stick here and there. I still love the sport. I still watch it. I watch like my little brother play, because he still plays now. But hockey is also a sport that I love to play.
When did you meet the president of Swimming South Africa, Mr. Fritz, and how was your first experience?
I think I first met Mr. President before my first ever World Champs, which was to Tokyo. It was in Japan, in Fukuoka. And I would think I was very intimidated, because you're like, oh, this is the president of Swimming South Africa. So I was a bit intimidated, but like once you start speaking to him, it's like you have this like big wave. You're like, oh no, this is just like, he's a very, very sweet, kind man. He's very approachable. You can really like talk to him about anything. So nothing to worry about.
Mr. Fritz, what kind of a player is Boati?
Yeah, well, her mom serves on the board of Swimming South Africa, and you know, you got to be very careful when you speak to athletes and shout at them and say, listen, you got to perform better, because the mom is as tough as she is. She's a very dedicated athlete. She's a very, very inspirational leader, captain in her own right. You know, we expect a lot from her, and she knows that. You know, we're transforming the sport at a rapid rate, and we've got to create role models like she is. She's a fantastic role model for other kids coming up, not only black kids, but kids across the spectrum, because her ability to lead and ability to guide. And these are the future leaders of our federation in a couple of years' time. And once we hand over the baton, we would like to look back and say, fantastic job, well done. We have developed leaders that can run the federation, and it will come from them. She's just an exceptional leader.
In terms of preparations for Los Angeles 2028, how's it going? Because I know you don't leave things until the 11th hour. You start well in advance. I know you're also preparing for 2032.
Yeah. In fact, 100%, we at the press conference, we announced the squads. We are now drilling down into all disciplines. We have done our homework pretty much, and we would, as I said at the press conference, we would require about 85 million to make sure that we give every water polo player, every diver, every swimmer, every open water, every artistic swimmer a real opportunity to success. You know, in between, we have our yardsticks that we measure. Of course, World Championships in Singapore was a big measurement for us. We will look at what's happening at the Commonwealth Games now. But in between, we have our own national championships, and we have provincial championships where these athletes will participate. But of course, going into Scotland for swimming, Commonwealth Games would be a real tester for us, because I don't think the British will necessarily be weaker than what they are now. They will be stronger. There's huge investment going in there. The Australians are masters, as you know. So we've got to compete against Australia, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom to make sure that 2 years from there, we're ready for the Olympic Games. LA, as I said, that we certainly have the potential to medal, not only in swimming, but I think diving can surprise us. But that will take a lot of hard work. 2032, the youth that we have now in water polo, diving, in swimming, even in artistic swimming, should really in Brisbane, which should be a highlight for our country.
Are you heading to Los Angeles in 2028?
Hopefully, I think definitely. Hopefully, I always aspire for every Olympic cycle to reach that stage again. After Tokyo, I learned a lot, so I'd love to take that experience and pass it down to younger players in LA 2028.
Let's talk about the basics, because you can never be a water polo player unless you are a swimmer, because you need swimming skills in the water to be able to play effectively. Talk to us about your journey, having started as a swimmer and then a water polo. Perhaps there's a young citizen out there watching you and thinking, I also want to be like Sis Boati one day.
I think being strong at swimming is definitely something you have to be during water polo. I think once you have that strong swimming foundation, then we can move on to the basics such as treading water. And then once you get to treading water, then we get to passing and all that stuff. You never stop learning the basics in water polo. Even now, for me, I practice my basics all the time. And obviously, you get as you improve, you get to the most advanced stuff. But definitely, being a strong swimmer is definitely very important when you start water polo. And then once we see your baseline for swimming, then we can move on to other things and improve your water polo skills.
Magnificento. If you have just joined us, a warm welcome to Netosportsglobal, hashtag NSG, proudly powered by the Academy of Sound Engineering, hashtag ASE. We are talking about aquatics in South Africa, the African continent, and globally. Helping us to do so is Boati Motau, who is a water polo player, a captain as well, skipper. She used to play hockey, but she decided to divorce hockey for water polo. But hey, we still are grateful that we've got athletes that represent not just South Africa, but the African continent very well. And of course, Alan Fritz, the Swimming South Africa president. Mr. Fritz, what's in your 5-year plan to make certain that you take aquatics in this country to another level?
Yeah, thank you very much. Of course, we work in a three Olympic cycle, because producing from junior or right until a world championship Olympic level takes a lot. So the next 5 years, of course, many people think the Olympics in LA is 2-3 years away. For an athlete, it's a mere 18 months away, because if you take training time, competition time, for those that are students that still have to study and write exams, it reduces the preparation time quite a bit, and also participating at competitions. So you're right, there is a 5-year outlook, and the 5-year outlook is get to particularly the Commonwealth, look where we are, but get ready for going into a camp in America. We are planning to have extensive participation of our athletes in the US to acclimatize. So you would see some of our athletes, from a swimming perspective, participating in World Cup series in America. We were looking at December period to have more of our athletes going for some level of competition. And then next year after Commonwealth in Scotland is to get them in America again. It's all a process of acclimatizing to where you are in terms of time zones. I've particularly seen it that we had athletes out at the student games in Germany, and they had to rush over to Singapore to participate in the World Championships. No doubt in my mind that has affected them, and we want to avoid that. But most important is to add the scientific component to this so that our athletes are very well prepared. So it's LA, and of course it's Brisbane 2032. That's the 5-year outlook. And in that we have a number of competition, quite a large number of camps to prepare athletes, and that's where we're going over the next 5 years.
Podium finishes, is it because South Africa is talented, or it's because Swimming South Africa is organized?
Yeah. There are two things that drives us in Swimming South Africa. It's to be always part of the top 10 nations in the world. We have talent, there's no doubt about it, and we've got immense talent in all our disciplines. There are two things that are holding us back. One is infrastructure facilities. We don't have a facility in this country where we can have an international competition. And that's an indictment against all of us in our country. We have some serious discussions at DSEC level and also at Lotto level and municipality level to ensure that what we have, we at least maintain. Because that would build a solid base for us. We can then always look at having world-class facilities. There is today a lot of work being put into the Kings Park swimming pool in Durban to bring it back to its former glory. We have one swimming pool where we can have WaterPolo nationals, and that's in East London. We have one swimming pool where we can have swimming nationals in Port Elizabeth, and you can't do that. This wonderful sport that's producing, since the readmission into world sport, medal after podium performances, can disappear overnight. So our appeal is for the authorities to make sure that we have swimming pools, we have diving facilities. Right now in South Africa, we don't have a single diving facility that can cater for the diving community the way it should. We can't have that. We don't have lots of swimming pools that can cater for Olympic-sized training, and we can't have that. We are grateful for many schools, particularly private schools, that has facilities that produce our athletes. We have the technical capability in terms of coaching to produce world-class athletes, but we are moving in reverse gear because we don't have funds, we don't have corporate sponsors behind us, and we don't have the physical facilities that should produce. Now, that is a recipe for disaster. It is very, very expensive to transport athletes across the globe for them to participate against the best. We should be inviting the best to our country so that it's cheaper for us. That's where we'd like to be. Yes, of course, we work very hard in a federation. None of our board members receive any remuneration for what they do. They do it out of the love for the sport. But we've got to move to a stage where we professionalize the sport and ensuring that money flows into the sport so that the athletes get the best service. We are very, very grateful for Bombela Concession Company coming on board. We're engaging them for a longer-term sponsorship. We have Fila that provide kit sponsors that our captain is wearing, and we're engaging them for long. And so we need to chip away at sponsorships to make sure that the performing sports in our country, rugby, swimming, athletics, and so on, are looked after because they are making the country proud. I'm not saying leave anybody behind. We shouldn't leave no sport code behind because sport is what we're good at. And sport is what our country wants to see the best performance. And that builds a nation. If you look at Australia today, sport contribute most probably 6% to their gross domestic product, GDP. In our country, it's less than 2%. We have the scientific sports community. We have sports tourism. We have a lot of things that can make us really good at sport. And we're not that far off. We just have to make sure that we have the facilities, we have the scientific community, we have the athletes. Get going.
Sport is a massive industry indeed. So, Boati, if the Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture is listening or watching this conversation, and many other stakeholders out there that have the real money to bring it the way of Swimming South Africa so that these issues that Mr. President has tabled can be addressed urgently in our lifetime and not in the future that we are not certain of. What would you like to say to those good Samaritans?
I think I'd like to say, I think they should maybe one day come to a practice one day and see how hard these athletes are working and see the amount of time, effort that we're sacrificing to be able to play at the level that we're playing, even if they're just looking at school water polo. Like these kids put in a lot of time and effort and sacrifice a lot of their time to be the best in the country. So I think I would just like to invite them down to watch one of our training practices to see what we're doing and know that the love that we have for the sport, the reason why we do these things and go to world championships and stuff is for the love of the sport, even though we don't get as much monetary gain. And I like to hope that that message is shown across to them and we can get those sponsors that we desperately need.
And so Fritz, with these sponsors coming on board, we'll get to a situation where elite athletes end up getting paid. I mean, in the United States of America, in the universities, top athletes there are already getting paid. And one is wondering, when will that be on the African continent? Yeah. And we want to see a scenario one day where those people in Europe end up coming to Africa for opportunities and not Africans always going to Europe for opportunities, because then it's one-way traffic and it leaves Africa underdeveloped.
Yeah, 100%. Your analogy is quite right. We have started about 2 weeks ago, incentives given to the athletes that performed at World Championship. But we need to do that more because athletes has got huge costs. Aquatic sport is an expensive sport. People think you wear a costume and you jump into water. It's just the opposite of that. So, yes, the agreement with Bombela is that we invest in the athletes and make sure that they're well prepared. And our plea is that more of corporate South Africa comes on board and more companies support the sport. That makes us proud. We have been the #1 federation since the readmission into world sport. It's a record that's very hard to maintain without the necessary support.
Magnificent. We are wrapping up a conversation with our special guest, Alan Fritz, Swim in South Africa president, together with an amazing athlete who's representing the country and the African continent very well, Boati Motau, who is a water polo player, a captain and a coach. How do you feel plowing back to the young ones with a skill that you also got coached on?
I love it. I truly love it. I think sometimes the kids make me want to pull my hair out, but I think pouring in the knowledge and the love that I have for the sport into them and seeing them improve and just seeing like the light in their eyes just expand. And my favorite thing is that if I'm teaching them a new skill and then once it clicks in their head and they get it, then that's like my biggest thing is that they're like, oh my gosh, like now I got it. So I think that's the most rewarding thing is just knowing that they're having fun first and foremost, but watching them improve as water polo players and as people is the biggest reward as a coach.
Sports medicine close to your heart?
Very close to my heart. I've always been interested in like the human body and how it works, and since I play sport and like injury prevention is very like a big deal to me. Sports medicine is very interesting to me. I love knowing how the human body works, and then from an athlete perspective, how do we prevent injury, but also how do we maximize our body the most, and what limits can we take our body to in a healthy way to perform at our best.
When last did you participate in a tournament? How did it go? And when is your next tournament? What can we expect?
The last tournament was now in July, the World Championships in Singapore. It was, like Mr. President said, it was a very young team, but we performed well considering. So I'm very excited to see where we can take that team and that squad. From my knowledge, I think the next competition is the World Cup. I'm not too sure when it will be or where it is, but it is very, very close within, I think, the next 3 to 4 months, I think.
How fit should you be to have a good water polo game?
You should be very fit. You should be nearing tournament time. You should be like peaking at peak fitness. As much as like some people don't like it, you do have to swim when you play water polo. So you have to do a lot of swimming. You have to do a lot of gym as well, like weightlifting and other agility stuff. And then as well as water polo tactical stuff and stuff. So you do have to have a lot of fitness, a lot of anaerobic fitness to play water polo.
If you were the Minister of Sports, what are the changes you would bring on the table for South African sports to conquer?
I think, like Mr. President said, a more scientific approach, especially when we're looking at our young athletes. I think there's a potential that maybe we might be overworking our young athletes, but we don't know because they're developing at such a rapid pace. I think knowing how to work with their bodies as they're developing from a scientific base would really, really help young athletes as they're helping across all sports, not just aquatic sports, and knowing how to maximize and in a healthy way maximize their bodies as they're developing.
Your mother supports you all the way. How much do you love her? Do you tell her how much do you love her?
I do. I'm not sure I tell her enough, but I do tell my mom and my parents that I love them a lot and that their support is truly appreciated from my whole family and support group. I'm truly, truly grateful for them because without them, I wouldn't be where I am playing on the national stage.
Thank you for being here. Your final word?
I think my final word is play sport. Sport is very, very important, especially from a young age. No matter what sport it is, it's very, very beneficial for children, and you don't know where it could take you. And yeah.
Amazing. Mr. Fritz, do you sometimes play golf? Because I know golfers like to talk about the putting shot. Your putting shot?
Yeah, I don't actually play golf. Don't have the time to play golf anymore. My parting shot would most certainly be thank you very much to you. You always create a platform for aquatic sport. And your love for aquatic sport is unquestionable. We would most certainly like to run a mass participation program here at the SABC, teaching the staff and everybody water safety and to learn to swim. And that's quite doable. But more from where I sit is that I would like to see our federation get into a top 5 spot in the world, and really, because we have the athletes, we have the leadership, we have the technical ability. It's just to get the resources behind us, and we can achieve that.
Thank you so much for pulling through.
Thank you.
That's how we wrap up our aquatics conversation with the greats in the sport. Swimming South Africa President Sir Alan Fritz, together with an amazing African queen, Boati Motau, who's doing the most out there as a water polo player, but also plowing back to the young upcoming generation for them not to be lost to wrong destinations like drug abuse, substance abuse, but to focus in sport. And remember, sport is a massive industry that can create jobs, careers, and look after one's health and fitness levels. My name is Neto, Netosportsglobal Chemani. Hosiati konyangazi mumkhatshwa phandle kunjani moyani. Voko dendele. Africa and the world, be nice, be kind, be good to a fellow global citizen, because we rise by lifting others. Ngachivenda bari ritakuanga utakula bangwe. Estamos juntos, we are together. Cheers.
Netosportsglobal. Netosportsglobal. Hashtag NSG. Remember to like and subscribe.